Welcome back to The Local Show, a service of Safe Harbor Wills and Trusts and Geddes Federal Savings and Loan. The Local Show, featuring conversations with business owners, employees, and local business leaders about their successes, challenges, and reasons for doing business right here in Central New York. The Local Show, locally produced by Zoe Advertising. Now, here are your hosts, Tom and Steve.
Welcome back, folks. It's good to see everyone. Do you see them, Steve?
I do, Tom.
I see listeners.
I see. Remember the ad council had the campaign 30, 40 years ago, see it on the radio?
Yes, I do.
I thought that was genius.
Yes.
It paints the picture.
I can see why you thought that.
Come on, that was great.
Yeah.
That was good. So
Yeah.
now people can see it on the radio, but they can see it on YouTube too.
Absolutely,
So
YouTube.
So you got it both ways. Mm-hmm. They can see how handsome you are.
Not only do we broadcast from the Zoe Advertising Studios, but we got it all set up for video, and we catch all the camera angles, and sometimes guests bring in things they can show, right?
Yep.
Which is good. Now we can talk people into bringing in food.
Watching us sip coffee from our local show coffee mugs. And
it's good. You know, people love to pull back the curtain and actually see that. Is
so
that the mug?
There's the coffee show. The coffee show.
No, it's the
pretty
coffee
much
mug.
is, especially on some segments.
And a lot of times we fill it with the Hyman Smith coffee from Smith's Restaurant Supply.
That's right.
So that's kind of cool. Right now, let's talk to a local favorite and sponsor of the show, Attorney John Murphy, owner of Safe Harbor Wills and Trusts. How are you, John?
I'm doing wonderful. And the talk about coffee made me want to do a coffee book that's shaped like a coffee table.
Coffee table, yes.
You don't drink coffee.
You don't? Oh, I never knew that.
Drink
No,
coffee.
I don't drink coffee.
That's a shame.
Not really.
Oh, God. I don't trust people who don't drink coffee.
Why do I drink
Do you drink
something
beer?
that's burned?
Oh, yeah, right. Well, that's true. You drink
Yes,
alcohol.
I do drink beers.
Okay, good. Good for you.
Steve doesn't drink beer. He likes, really light.
Girly
beers.
drinks? Do you do girly drinks?
John takes bark off a tree, crushes it, adds like maple syrup or water, and then drinks like mud.
So you like a stout beer,
Yeah,
like a real,
I like a
same
Guinness
here.
and,
Absolutely.
a harp.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Killian's Red and stuff like that.
And Smittix is probably my favorite.
How about
Smittix, my favorite, too.
Mick Ultra? Is that one of your beers? Probably not.
Milk Ultra go down the toilet.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Smittix, and he says it right. Now, my father-in-law's from Dublin, Ireland, and all of my wife's family from Ireland, right? So even the ladies, her aunts, they take the Guinness and they pour milk in it. Have you ever seen that, where they do a little cream inside the Guinness? Yeah, that's kind of a thing.
I see his brain spinning.
From Ireland.
He's going to try it. I
guess it's pretty good. They do it a lot.
I've never seen a Guinness built that way.
Yeah, right.
That's what you do. You do not pour a Guinness, you build a Guinness.
You're right. Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah,
Nice.
Let's talk about something.
I knew I liked John.
I'm thirsty.
For those of you who don't know, John is an attorney. That makes him an Esquire. And tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into Safe Harbor Wills and Trusts.
Well, Tom, one day when I was drinking a Guinness, I said,
Not true.
why should I do this?
Finishing up the bar.
Right. No, I used to have a general practice in my hometown of Phoenix, New York. I did a little bit of everything. This came up the other day. I even did adoptions.
No kidding.
Traffic tickets and real estate closings and all those types of things, and whatever would keep the doors open and the lights on.
And that's a lot of attorneys.
It is. And back in 2000, my fourth child was born, and due to various circumstances, my wife stayed home. So now I'm suddenly the sole support for 6 people, having to pay the insurance because my wife had the insurance. So you do whatever you needed to do. And then there came a time about 20 years ago or so where my wife's grandmother was in a nursing home. Her grandfather had died, and my mother-in-law said, "Can you help get Mom on Medicaid?" I didn't know this is what they were costing them. I said, "Sure, how tough can Medicaid be?" And I got into it, and I failed utterly, Tom. I don't like to admit that I failed, but I failed.
Right.
And not only did I fail, but I had to tell my family I failed. And I had to find somebody that could do this stuff, and we did find somebody, and my lack of knowledge didn't hurt them. Thankfully, I was able to recognize soon enough that I was over my head.
So are you still a loser?
I was a winner the minute I married my wife.
Okay.
There you go.
So what happened?
So I said, so Bob and Catherine were my wife's grandparents, and I said, I want to help out people like Bob and Catherine. They had their own businesses. My parents had their own business, and I saw this family on the brink of losing everything, right? because they didn't have a long-term care insurance policy, and it was never going to happen to them, and family would take care of them. Sometimes you get too sick for the family to safely take care of you. And so I dedicated my professional life to learning as much as I can about long-term care, Medicaid, asset protection, those types of things, and totally changed my practice. And now this is all we do. Matter of fact, we had a client call yesterday and wanted us to do a closing. We don't do closings.
Right.
How about that?
And when I talk to clients of yours, one of the things overwhelmingly that comes up time and time again is how communicative you are and how easy you are to talk with, that you don't talk above their head and you talk specifically to their circumstances, and that's the way your whole staff treats them.
Yeah, we just have a different knowledge set than they do, not for better or worse. I have clients that can do things I could never think of doing.
Right.
But I try to break it down and, drive Steve nuts, try to use analogies.
Oh my gosh.
But if you could paint a picture verbally for people, I think it's easier for them to understand. So for instance, a lot of times people want to say, well, I went to the bank to put my bank accounts into trust and they said I couldn't. Well, it's because you don't have the trust yet.
Right.
So we're building the house and you have to get all that done before you put the furniture in the rooms, right? So, okay. That makes sense. I can't put anything in there until we've actually done it.
Right.
So we just try to, we're just regular people with different jobs. That's all.
Do people plan, wait? I mean, we all have known people that have been devastated by long-term care or nursing homes. We were just speaking with someone earlier this week, and someone was already in a nursing home. You can still help, right?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. We have some folks today. They sent us in some things. We'll probably meet with them next week. We're going to be able to save 50% of everything they have, approximately, even though they're in a nursing home. And for them, that's going to be about $400,000. And one of the other things, Steve, it did come up in that conversation, people take information and they process it in a way that hurts them because they don't understand the nuances. This particular person gave money to a grandson to help purchase a house. So a lot of people would say, well, they can't get Medicaid for 5 years. That's not how that works. We'll be able to get this person Medicaid in about 24 months.
Wow.
I see.
And save about $400,000.
Yeah.
So we had somebody else that we're doing last minute Medicaid for. The family went through over $400,000 before they came to see us.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Goodness.
And we could have saved.
How do you absorb
You can save
that?
about half if you're single. You can save often if you're married and the spouse is at home. You can save all of it.
Wow. So if someone has a house, should everyone that has a house have a trust? Or
Yes. Almost
yes.
always. I'm gonna
Really?
say almost always.
Because?
Yeah. Well, even if you never go into a nursing home, you can keep your house out of the probate process. Okay. So probate is what happens to your stuff and what is inflicted upon your family when you have an asset that doesn't have an owner who's alive. So husband and wife own a house together, let's say. Husband dies first, wife owns the house. We don't have to do anything, right? Because the other owner's alive.
Right.
Well, now when the wife passes away, nobody whose name is on the deed is alive to sign a new deed. So the house goes through the probate process. Okay. If you put your house in a trust, the trust doesn't end when you die. So the owner of the house is the trust.
Which cost more? Because people say trusts are expensive, probate or trusts?
Probate.
And everyone has to go through probate eventually. Is that what I heard you say?
Well, if you own assets in your own name when you die.
Okay.
Right. So why does that cost more? Because on average, it's 3 to 7%. So I like to use 5% because I can do that math in my head. If you have a $200,000 house, probate 5%, $10,000.
Wow.
On average.
And you could do way more than that. I mean, you could, for 10 grand, you could protect everything every which way but loose and more.
Oh yeah, for 10 grand, we can protect things from long-term care. We can protect your assets if you need care at home. A lot of people don't understand. Medicaid can help pay for services to keep you at home. Medicaid can help pay for assisted living.
Right.
And you've all contributed to Medicaid.
So, Tom, I've got safeharborwillsandtrust.com, and I know that because I've said that before.
Yes, you have.
Safeharborwillsandtrust.com. They can call, even on the weekend, leave a message, 315-370-9977. Write that down, 370-9977. And a case manager or someone on the team will get back to
Yeah.
you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, John Murphy. That's attorney John Murphy, owner of Safe Harbor Wills and Trusts. And you've got a whole winter season to get ready for swinging the clubs in the spring with Steve again.
I can't wait. I'm trying to get Steve to come down. Judy, please let Steve come with me and play golf on Saturdays.
Very nice. All right. Coming up next, folks, we're going to talk with Ray Manassa. He's the Chief Marketing Officer at the United Way of Central New York. Stick around. More local show to come on 570 WSYR and 106.9 FM.